Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Point and Click Puzzle Games, whereby in this lesson, episode 10 of this little mini series of Tic Tac Toe, we're going to be looking at if conditional statements. Now these are a logical process, as it were, to determine if such and such event exists or such and such situation exists, and then you can determine which piece of code you want to execute as a result of other influencing effects and factors within your game environment. So if you haven't been here before, please bear in mind that my videos are designed for teenagers upwards and or adults that haven't coded before, and that's why we're working with the Lua programming language, because it's ever so simple to construct and work with compared to some of the other programming languages that are out there. And we're going to crack on and now learn all about if statements as part of our tutorial series. Okay, so if you've been following my videos, you will know that we've been on this journey of creating lots of different things. So we've created events so that we know which square people have tapped on. In the last video, we made the app decide which player 1 or player 2 goes first. So the app knows whose turn it is, but the players themselves don't. And at the moment, we've got no way of linking the square with the character, with the player, with the person whose turn it is. So we've got these 4 different parameters or influencing factors within our game environment that are now existing, ready for us to actually kind of connect everything together, which is what we're going to be doing using an if statement in this game, in this video today. So if you haven't been here before, please do subscribe, stay notified, put your comments below, and we'll crack on. So let's dive into my left-hand monitor. So this is kind of where we left it in our last video. So our events are taking place. We've got down here on the screen down here, we've got our math random, so determining which player is going on. We've got player objects now existing, so the players exist. The app knows which turn, whose turn goes first or whose turn is next. We know which square is being clicked on, and we have currently got them hidden, but we've also got the player characters as well already existing. So we now need to bring everything together, and we're going to do that in the function that we created a few episodes ago for which square is being tapped on, because this is kind of the event that initiates all of those things coming together. Okay, so for the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to give ourselves some space on here, and then we are literally going to create a kind of an if statement. Down here, we've got this for loop that is identifying the object itself, or which square object, and adding the event listener to it. Okay, and so this is now listening out there in the big sort of app cosmos, as it were, for the event to take place. And when that is, at the moment, all we're doing is triggering that little print command on the console. So first of all, let's bring in who's the player's turn. So we know the players, so let's print the player's turn here, for example, just for a second. Player's turn, okay, equals, and then just so that we can refresh what's going on. So let that just finish, and then we're going to tap. So down here in our console, we've tapped on square 1, and we know now inside this function that it's players 1's turn. Okay, so we can write a little statement that determines what we do now. So if player's turn is equal to, now this is equal as in the comparison symbol, which is a double equal sign, the value of, we are going to test for player 1 dot player number, then we're gonna do something, so do something, and then else if player's turn is equal to player 2 dot player number. Okay, then we do something else, else there's been an error, because we shouldn't get to this. There should literally only be a value of 1 or value 2, and if we end up with any other values, then there's a problem somewhere. So we're going to end. So I can say do nothing, just so that I know I finished off my code. Right, so what is these somethings that we're going to do? Well, first of all, we're going to start by printing out, so that we know we're in the right place. Printing out player one's number. Okay, so what we've got now, we know that square 5 has been tapped on. We know that the app knows it's player one's turn, and now what we've got is some code identifying whether it's player 1 or player 2, because we've got this little command telling us what's going on. So player one's number is player 1, and we know that's correct because it should only print out if it is player 1, which means this if statement is now comparing the value of the player's turn, which was created by the random math operator function, to the player's number, and we know it's all good. So if it's now player's turn there, we're going to copy and paste, because I'm going to show you something else that we're going to do, because we've got these objects already existing. So now it should tell us if it's a player 1 is a cross or a naught, because we have, there we go, it's got noughts. So we now know that this square, the square 1, was used. The app knows it's player, or I should put the app, then we know the app knows it's player's turn 1, okay? And then down here, we've determined if player 1 is in use or player 2, and if it is player 1, we know their character, okay? Because we have already set that as an object. Where did we do it? Up here somewhere in the crate, there we go. So we know that player 1 is a naught and player 2 is a crosses. So now that we know what character they are, okay, we've got these noughts and crosses. So let's put these into function. So local function draw noughts. Okay, let's bump all of that in and then put the word end to end the function, and we're going to repeat the same process here. Local function draw crosses and end. Oh, she says end. There we go. This draw should only happen if we call this function, and this draw noughts should only happen if we draw this function. So let's turn these on to true so that we can actually see the markers when they happen. We tested that a few episodes ago, that we know that they do work and they go on screen, but at the moment they are being positioned in the very center of our grid, not because we've called on box 5, but because we've literally grouped it inside this object as a group of objects, and we've told it to go center. So we've turned them on visible. So if this is character crosses, we need to draw, so when it's character 1, player 1, whatever you want to call it, we draw noughts. So now we're going to run that command here, which is where we actually wanted to get to, and then we're going to draw crosses. But we are still lacking where to draw the noughts and where to draw the crosses. So let's just start off by saying save, and let's just see that we can test that the naught and the cross does actually appear. So it'll appear in the wrong place, but we've got the naught, so that's fine. So it's player 1's turn. So we just clicked on 3, but the naught is showing on the screen, we just haven't positioned it yet. And then if we do this again, we still player 1, we need to get to a point where it randomly picks out player 2, maybe 2. Let's save, and let's see if it refreshes the app. File, relaunch. At some point it should be player 2. There you go, player 2. So there you go, player 2 is crosses, we've got the cross. So we now know that draw commands are working correctly, but what we've still got to do is that one last step is connecting the character positioning to the square that's being tapped. So we know which square it is, so we will therefore know what its X and Y coordinates are going to be. So our target, our object that's been clicked on, this square, has an X and a Y location already. It's already been set, that's how it is in that top right corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to retrieve it from the event. So we've listened for an event, we know the target of the event, which was basically saying which box has been clicked on, and each box has its own value of an X and Y coordinate. So we're going to get that information, populate it in a local variable. Now that we have that information, what we can do is we can send it to our noughts and crosses, received in an X and Y and an X and Y. And so when we come up here now, so obviously if we're sending data, we've got to receive it in. So we're going to put X position in and Y position in, and then we're going to copy, and we're going to do the same here. Okay, so now we're sending it we're going to ask it to draw the noughts and the crosses using the X and Y location of the square that's tapped. So that's all good. But now last step that we need to do, we've sent the information to the function, but we haven't actually updated just yet the object itself. So we are going to come down here by a couple of spaces, click on copy and paste, So we can set up the .x and the .y values and .y values, and we can basically populate this with the information that we've just sent to it. So every time we call this function, obviously the x and y positioning is going to have changed. We're going to just copy that whole process for our crosses, and then we're just going to change the variable names. Copy, paste, paste, and save. Now, with a little luck, this should now mean that we've got a cross. Oh, it's still player 2 we're stuck on. Okay, so we've got to fix the whole player update, but that's fine. We haven't updated the player's turn. So coming back down here now, so we know here it's the player's turn. So when the player's turn has just gone, what we need to do is copy this variable and then finish executing by taking that. So if this is player 1, this now needs to be player 2. And if this is player 2's turn, we now need to then update it by changing it to player 1. So if we save, now it should alternate. So player 2 goes first, 2 is crosses. Now we need to update our message on the screen, but it should be a naught and a cross and a naught. Doesn't matter where we put it, cross, naught, cross, naught, cross. Bang, we've done it. Okay, so we've got this process updating and working now. So let's actually update this message on the screen here as well, so everything is working nicely. So where have we got our message? Let's have a look for our code. So that's where we've initialized it to start with. It's player 1's turn. We could basically change this for the very first person to start. So player 1 starts. Let's change this, because after this it's not going to be used. So player 2 starts, player 1 starts. So that message initially is updated and initialized on screen as we prepare the screen will show on screen. Okay, but now it's shown on screen, we want to change this message. So after we have got this down here and we've updated it, let's just put that message in here now and change what is going on screen. So let's have a look. What did we put? We put player, whatever it is. So let's just take that whole sentence and tweak it again. I should have copied it really before I did it, but never mind. So player and 2's. So we need a player 2's turn next. Here, I hope you can follow what I'm doing. So what I've got is a concatenation statement that is combining the variable value into our text that's written on the display so that we can change the message. So the message, very first time the message is put on screen, tells us which player is going first. Wherever you lost, oh, I've lost it. There we go. On line 202 in this show will section, it populates. And then as we come down here, we've updated the player characters. We know the grid and the board itself is now working. We're just going to update this message. So in theory, as you can see, player 2 starts. What should happen now is that this message should also change to say player 1's turn next, or player 2. So if it's player 1, it's going to update to player 2. And if it's player 2, it's going to update to show player 1. So let's just put that message after here as well and click paste and save. And with a little luck, so player 2 starts, which is the opening message. Player 1's turn, player 2's turn. There we go. Look at that. Everything is updating nicely. So I'm going to leave it just there for the moment, because what we're going to do in the next tutorial is that we are going to now, we've got to determine essentially who wins. We've got to create, and that's going to be quite a lot of effort because we've got to basically search for row combinations, and that's going to be in our next tutorial. So do come back, stay tuned, stay notified, put your comments below, and I will see you on another episode real soon.